Hit record.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Here we are. I'm actually going to close the door.
You have another 10 seconds.
Get better sound.
All right. So you guys all got the agenda. We do not have the meeting minutes from October. We had some staffing things and people were sick and things. No excuse. We will do better moving forward. And we will get those to you as soon as we can. That being said, I do think we already re-elected Sarah Lambert. So we don't need to do that. So that was an error on my part. We won't do that. And then let me quickly make sure we have a quorum, which
4 people.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We are good to go. So we do have a quorum.
All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys had a good 2 months off. I hope we got some stuff on the schedule and ways that were the way the council, and we can move forward with the conversations as we go forward. I hope you guys all had a good one, and let's try to see. We do need to approve the agenda, right?
No.
No? Okay. Well, it looks like program update will be the first one on the docket in today's schedule. A little confused on that, but okay.
Is it program updates or are we voting?
We don't technically need to vote. We have, so Sarah's term. Sarah S, I'm gonna say S because I always get your last name wrong. Sorry, I don't know why my brain
It's all
can't
right.
figure it out.
That's all right.
Yours ends on the 1st of May.
Mhm.
And then Colleen ends on the 1st of May also. So we can do that today if you'd like. Or if we want to wait until February, that's a decision for you all
Oh, for us to decide whether or not,
to vote.
Doing it today.
I don't mind doing it today.
Yeah.
It sounds like I got first
Yeah.
first on that conversation, Chair. So all that, do you wanna
Fine.
second that vote?
Sure, I'll
right
second
now?
that. I'll second,
Okay.
yeah.
Any conversation on that right now within the council? As I hear none, do we have a first and a second for a vote for that? I'll first that. Anyone else want a second for the vote time?
Second it.
Thank you. And then anyone with eyes, please raise your hand for the revote for Colleen, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
We vote for ourselves?
You're calling first.
I'll vote for
Right.
Colleen if she'll vote for me.
All right, so no tit for tat is not my, but I vote aye on that, all the
You
ayes.
guys vote aye.
Uh,
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
And then, is it ununanimous or do we have any no's out there? Anyone abstaining outside of Colleen that may or may not need to be no for abstaining? It sounds like aye, the motion has passed in ways to Colleen and extension of being on the council. Thank you very much.
And then Sarah S.
Oh, I thought we did Sarah.
And
Nope.
Sarah.
Sarah
L.
Lambert before.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
That's
What I would have
confusing.
done if I known that, I would have grouped it together, Sarah. And
That's
I
all right.
apologize that on good old Robert rule of order. All right, we'll need to have a first motion, second motion on a conversation for Sarah S. and continuing the council. Do I hear a first or a second motion for a conversation?
All motion.
All right,
For
there's
Sarah.
one. There's one for Colleen, and do we have a second on the motion for a conversation?
I'll second.
All right, anyone have any opinions or objections in ways of a conversation and opinions of Sarah S. being on, continuing on the council?
Nope.
I hear none. Now, anyone would like a motion for a vote?
I'll make a motion.
All right, there's one motion. Do we have someone seconding it so we can make a vote for Sarah's project? Sorry for the butchering of your name.
I'll second.
All right, motion, please raise your hand. Aye. And then anyone who has a no vote, please raise your hand. I see none, at least on modern technology. Anyone abstaining would be, need to raise their hand at this point. It looks like that we have the motion to pass with S in ways of continuing on the council. Thank you very much for your services and thank you for all for your votes in ways that we can continue the work that needs to be done within Clackamas County and these services.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think one more thing I will say is, we will need to open up, our recruitment again.
Okay.
I will say that one thing that we are doing, we do have email addresses into our electronic health record system now, so we'll be able to communicate directly with individuals and families in service about the option to join the DD Council rather than having to go through our service coordinators. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to reach a little bit wider net that way. But also, as I open this, if we can, if you have people that you think might be interested, please send them my way. So that's all I'll say there.
I have a question.
Please.
I have a friend who actually runs an agency hiring DSPs. Would she, I know Sarah, Sarah has her adult foster care home. I haven't reached out to her or anything like that, but would she be eligible to join my friend who has that agency?
Actually, right now, when we open it, that's a really good question. I think we will have room for one provider. We don't have Jacob anymore, and he was a provider.
Okay.
So I think that leaves us room for one provider.
What are the rules of conflict of interest and moonlighting in ways of the role of someone taking a position that may or may not be a family member or those with disabilities, but also run a host home or a DSW or a group home situation? Are there any county laws within those types of conflicts of interest that they could be as an individual member, or do they still have to apply for being a?
They would still have to apply.
But will they, what way can they apply? Can they still be like host homes and the group home situation of those who get those types of license within the council? Do they have to apply for a DSP in ways agency, or can they still be individual members within that type of structure within a council?
They would need to declare on their application what role they're applying as. Are they applying as a provider or are they applying as a family member?
Okay, but if they apply as a family member, say for like a host home situation or a DSP group thing, can they still be individual members without it being a conflict of interest within a agency?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, for us, it's not a conflict of interest. They just have, if we have a limited number of spots for providers, if they're asking to join as a provider, or if they're identifying to join as a provider, we only have so many spots and we might not be able to have them
So
join.
they can still apply, but they should put into the application if they're a host home or a provider in ways of those types of things.
If they're a family member, if they're a family member and they want to join as a family member, they should indicate that. Or if they're a provider and they want to join as a provider, they should indicate that.
Sarah, does that answer your question in ways of either a provider or individual member of the council?
Yes, thank you.
And I can email you all when I officially get it open, because it'll take a little bit of work on the back end on our side. So I just email you all.
Yeah.
So nobody wastes their time checking a million times.
And I assume a provider is like PT, OT, like what is a?
Any sort of a provider of any
Yeah.
services for DD.
Okay.
It's really broad net.
Social, yeah.
Well, as long as it's DD. So.
Taking
Yeah,
CMS dollars.
provider would, how we identify provider would be a provider of DD paid service. So I wouldn't necessarily identify PT, OT, doctor, nurse as provider. We would say group home, foster care, DSA, anybody that would be paid by behavior consultant, any of those that are paid by service plan dollars. So they
is
would be
there a-
considered providers.
Practically.
Is there a split on the council, like a certain number of seats are supposed to be dedicated? What is that split?
It's on the bylaws, which it's a new year, I can send those out if those would be helpful. We haven't changed them in years.
Yes.
Like, vaguely
Yeah, this is the
remember,
pop
like-
quiz, right? I think there's 2 or 3 providers. Oh, here it is. Let me see.
One DD applicant.
A minimum of 7 members and a maximum of 18. A minimum of 5 families and or persons with IDDD. Or 50%, whichever is greater. 2 providers, maximum of 3, and 1 advocate.
We have 2 providers and we need 1 more.
We have 1 provider now. Yes, Jacob was a provider.
So we could do 2 more.
Yes,
Okay,
sorry, yes. Let me see, I think I have that on the meeting minutes too. Yes, so, oh, and Mimi, so we do have 2 providers. We had 3, so we have room for 1 more.
You don't need one more.
And then as many individuals or family members.
For the record, though, I understand we are going through what we're going through, raising my hand as the advocate. I would love to have specialized positions be approved by the council in the ways of tax attorneys and other providers that help those with disabilities within county expertise. I understand it's not, but I will, I said that for the record, and we can release that since I've tried that 2 times around. But the question I had for either Kim or you guys is, does both rehab and those who provide services in DD in between ODDS and those types of services count as a provider or not? Nowadays, since laws and rules have kind of been changed.
So Voc Rehab,
Or
If
employment
someone-
first initiative.
if someone from Voc Rehab wants to be on the DD Advisory Council, then I would consider them a separate, and it'd be a community member. So they'd have to live in Clackamas County and they can represent Voc Rehab, but they wouldn't be representing Voc Rehab, if that makes
Understand.
sense.
So employment first or other initiatives within the within DD services does not count as providers within Clackamas County Council.
No,
Thank you. All right, I put my hand down. All right, that makes sense. Any other questions on this conversation and reopening the process within the council? Okay. Next on the list, I have OPA or program update, sorry.
okay. Program updates. So I'm like trying to remember what I said I was going to talk about. So one of the program updates is that effective January 1st, we implemented and started the process of the position of our onboarding service coordinators. So we now have 2 service coordinators dedicated to they're being assigned to individuals who are coming directly out of eligibility and into service. And these service coordinators are going to be the ones that support onboarding the individual and their families, if they're youth or have family support, into service before their transition to their new service coordinator. So this has been done to address timelines and workload. So our hope, and hopefully the experience that people will receive, is these service coordinators are tied closely to eligibility and start the engagement process and some choice advising and informing about services prior to their eligibility, so that if there are needs that are out there that can be addressed, or questions that can be answered to support individuals before they become eligible, that they're not having to wait until eligibility to be like, and then they have to wait to get into plan, get the assessment and get into plan. So helping to support with the Medicaid application process and helping them, not necessarily helping them apply, but helping them with understanding who to go to and when. So we're hoping that this experience will get individuals into plan timely, more timely possibly than what they might have been experiencing with individual case managers who's, have had excessively high caseloads. And so there is that. And then just the tying in to eligibility. So they're being connected to someone who might be able to support them even prior to getting into a paid service. So that started effective January 1st. So it's been going for a whole 22 days. And we've also had an ice storm in there. So it's early days yet. But we do know that that we expect it to, and we're doing a lot of very close watching of numbers to see. We've started with 2 service coordinator positions. We have no idea what the flow and volume will be like. So we're going to be tracking that data as well as like numbers and how it's working, if 2 people will be enough, or if we have to do future planning for considering what our budget can support and strategic planning around that piece of it. So, but we're really optimistic. We're excited for the new positions and the support that we're hoping it can provide to people as they're coming through our front door.
Can I ask a question?
I hear that Dr. Hamlet first, but if you want to go.
I just want to ask, is this just for Clackamas County? These
Yes.
positions? Washington County didn't do it, or Multnomah, or?
No.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know what their what's the word? Their structure is like. So
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
And oh, sorry, go ahead.
We created these positions based on what we were experiencing and what we were seeing, and hoping that we'd be able to tie in more support at the front door.
Great. And then my last question is, I assume that this person's also recognizing, well, not really recognizing, but informing families that there is a parental income ignoring thing. There's a certain name for it, and I don't remember what it's called.
Disregard.
Yeah, disregard. That's an education piece that these people are expressing to those who call and ask about these services, right?
Our
and
eligibility
specifically
specialist.
Because I've had families call me and say, hey, I thought that they disregarded our income, but I was asked about my income. And so I would love to know where that piece fits in when it comes to the intake process.
So we don't do that with, so that's application for Medicaid. And we don't. It is the application for Medicaid, and we're not the Medicaid office. And so it is through Medicaid, and they will be asked about their income, because when they apply, if they're going to be applying for Medicaid services, they're going to be applying for Medicaid. They always ask about income. It's not an option to not answer about income when you do the Medicaid one application.
Okay. And then when they're done and it's deemed that they're not eligible based on their income, then they can do the disregard if it's a minor?
It would be the PMDDT process, which is the I don't ask. I learn alphabet soup and then I don't remember what all the words are, but it's the PMDDT process. So it is, and they are supported with if they become eligible and they are applying for Medicaid and they're deemed ineligible due to parental income, then the service coordinators are aware of how to support them through connecting through PMDDT.
Okay.
Presumptive Medicaid disability determination team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the fun.
That's a mouthful.
That's the fun.
Say
Thank you
10
so
minutes
much,
fast.
Kim. I appreciate it.
For the record, my hand is up, I believe.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, so from the, like, I don't know what you guys call a client perspective, how many people are they gonna be interacting with? from the time that they get a diagnosis to the time that they get services.
So they would be interacting with an eligibility specialist, potentially with a psychologist who would do testing, and then with the onboarding service coordinator who would get them into plan, and they would transfer to a ongoing service coordinator at that point.
Okay, so that's 4 separate people. And are we
Potentially.
forming them on the front end? Because when my experience was that we would meet a service coordinator and then they would pass us off to somebody else, and then we would meet another service coordinator and they would pass us off to somebody else. And it happened over and over and over again. I counted 16 different social workers that we interacted with as a result of my children's disabilities within the first 6 months. It's a lot to add more and more people to this equation. And I understand the motivation and what's behind it. But if we could have some sort of like a dashboard or something for folks that they could know where they are at in the process, because so many times I would make a relationship with somebody and they would be gone the next week.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that from the client perspective, this is so taxing and so draining to have to tell your story over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I can echo some of that.
Yeah.
I absolutely respect that. And so to your point, or to your comment, one, we did take that into consideration, and our goal continues to be people's access to service and timely access to service. So we wanted, in order to meet the timelines that are set for us, this was one of the ways that we felt that it was weighing people being delayed because of service coordinators who had caseloads that were causing impacts to their ability to get to close, getting people entered into service timely, and that we do our very best at Clackamas County to bring someone in if they come in the front door and they're meeting with an eligibility specialist, that eligibility specialist is Clackamas County employee, is not, there's not a lot of transferring happening there. Then the psychologist is for testing. If they come in and they don't need testing, they wouldn't deal with the psychologist. But at some point, they're going to have testing. So if it isn't done already, and we can't avoid that, that isn't something that is optional. And then as far as service coordinators and being transferred, I completely respect that. And I can't control when people leave or take new jobs or are promoted. And so we do our very best to try to not do a lot of switching internally once they're assigned to a service coordinator. And yet, unfortunately, we can't prevent it all the time, but we do our very best to make sure that isn't a practice that we have changed just for the sake of changing things.
Yeah,
So-
and what I'm urging you to see is a wider lens outside of just those 4 people that Clackamas County might be having people go through.
Absolutely.
There's the hospital social workers, and then there's the other people, it's like, there's so many people. So just, it's, every additional like step in this process towards getting services is really draining, and I need all the parts of the system to know that all the rest of the parts exist.
Right, there's like 100 parts.
Thank you.
Any other follow-up?
Yeah.
Okay, I did see Sarah Straw's hand, was that still up or not?
Well, I was just very quickly, just going back to Medicaid, I just, in terms of the disregard and, so I know they disregarded it when Marissa turned 18 because, family income was not relevant anymore. But, she went on Medicaid, she had the K plan, she went on Medicaid before, and we wouldn't have qualified. So yeah, there must be some way around that earlier on. What did you call it? The
PMDD.
Yeah, all diagnosis of intellectual and developmental disabilities qualify for that.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
It's
any age.
it's a DD waiver
Yeah.
stuff too, in addition to OHP.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just had heard, just families saying, I don't know about this thing that allows my kid to be covered,
Mm.
my income being included, and I thought that it was strange that they weren't being educated on it.
No
So I
one,
just wanted to make sure that we were educating through these two new positions.
Mhm.
knowing federal limits versus state limits, knowing that you guys only county, it is a difficult position, but I do sympathize with the blanking. Reasoning sometimes in ways of making it a sidestep rather than a solution sometimes. I'm gonna go vote rehab angle in ways that you can't use certain other services with your other services and stuff like that. It's very hard to know how to navigate. So my question is within the service coordinator or whatnot, how many have you, is this a pilot program or have you guys had it in the past? And what was the last time you guys had it and how many people were hired within the county? I'll have follow-up after that.
The onboarding service
Yes,
coordination,
is this a new service
position?
or has it been there before and how many?
it's a new practice. It's a new practice.
Understand, Kim, and I appreciate, even though we may want more in life in ways of demanding the department and everything, myself, not speak on the others, I understand the language that you're pointing out. Will these people have an updated revisit with these clients within 5 to 8 years to understand more services that may be available to them? Or is it only in the onboarding process that they get to meet these people?
I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me,
What
John,
I'm
but
asking is onboarding, when they come into services, they meet this person, they get to learn all about these great services and beyond. Sometimes in the owner process, we have to be evaluated by the county rather than just our owner specialist, for example. And sometimes we get to learn about new services that we didn't learn before our case managers and stuff like that. I'm talking broker systems, not your guys' systems. And so I'm just wondering if there is an updated process within the client so they can know the services within it. Right now, it sounds like no, which is fine.
their service coordinator that their ongoing, so the onboarding service coordinator gets them into plan.
Yeah.
The ongoing service coordinator
Yeah.
that they will have ongoing is the person who will give them all of that information ongoing. They will see their service coordinator at minimum, probably a quarterly if they're in K-Plan services.
We're good. I understand you're going the service coordinator route. Sometimes you learn new things when you have a different type of skill set within the process. So I understand that. I would love to see research within this new program. I congratulate the department in trying to figure out some solutions like that, even in that. The last part is, what is the difference of a network navigator within school systems signing up for different services around state and federal funding in at a college, for example, like Clapham Community, within like signing to SNAP, knowing if I qualified or not qualified, or if I get a job, I can go to do certain services versus an onboard specialist that you're referring to in ways they're not able to.
They're
take
not
care
the
of
same
that.
thing at all, John. They're not the same thing at all. The
I need to
onboarding
hear
service
that.
coordinator is simply in place to bring the person into developmental disability services and get them into plan in a timely way. So they connect them, they get the ONA, they complete their service plan,
hear
they
you
get
on
them
the business
enrolled in
end.
services.
I
That's all-
appreciate.
That's all they do.
Absolutely. I appreciate your clarification on the network navigation language within departments versus the onboard services. Thank you very much for that clarification on my behalf in ways of advocating for those with disabilities. Roxanne?
Oh, I just wanted to say, real quickly regarding the experience of having to like have multiple people that you meet with and touch on and everything. Like I can completely understand that. Like not only my service coordinator, like that's my lived experience right now because my grandfather has dementia. We're trying to get him connected with some home services and eventually assisted living. And my family, you know, they're like, okay, you got to do this as a social worker in the family. But I would say they're all neurotypical, educated, white collar workers. And they basically told me they would not be able to access services if they didn't already have someone in the family that knew it. And I think having these new positions, the idea is, you know, even though you might be working with this person for a short amount of time, you know, some people will go like months and months in crisis before they're able to get a service. So I think they're kind of weighing like, okay, so do we want to get this person in service as quickly as possible, or do we want to just stick this person with the same person? So I completely understand like the confusion and everything, because I've had that same experience with like Washington County, with Washington County Aging Services, with the VA. But we call that continuity of care at Clackamas County when you have like the same service coordinator and you have someone you rely on. So I would say compared to Multnomah and Washington County, my experience has been though that people have more long-term relationships with service coordinators once they get started. That position, the onboarding position, would do something like what I'm doing with my grandfather right now, where I'm trying to help him navigate the services, help him access those services and get started. So that's sort of like what the idea is, but I completely understand it, because I mean, the reality is the need is really high and the funding isn't there. So we're just trying to do the best with what we have. But yeah, that's all I can say is I see it from both ends.
Thank you.
So I just want to respond. So to me, the solution is that we need to communicate that. Like we need to have a really clear like diagram that says you're at this part of the process, because it's very opaque to people and they have no idea that, you know, this person that came into my home and I'm pouring out my heart and telling them the whole sad story, they're like, oh, thanks, okay, and then I never see them again.
Yep.
There was zero communication that that's how that was going to roll out. And then so by the time you get to the 16th person, you're like, who the hell are you? You know, like there's an understandable amount of frustration that then that last service coordinator has to deal with after you've been through the gauntlet. So if we can like front load people's expectations on this is how it goes, I think that would go a long way to people like not realizing that this is, you know, this is only the first step of a very long process. It's not the last step.
And I will say another book we have analogy parable is I could be an audio specialist with this one person that may help, you know, with exploration and other things when I'm way overqualified. Or I could be a operation technology management student in ways of things. It depends on the knowledge of the people that we work with, and it kind of is frustrating because you have to talk to the language, and even when I'll put this on my side, even when you talk into the language like Special Olympics and everything, it's still not understanding sometimes, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will say that too.
I mean,
That I didn't even know, from my own personal experience as a parent, I didn't know what questions to even ask until Hannah was like 7. It took years
it takes a long time.
to finally even know what am I even asking to ask. I was just in this myriad of services and I had no idea what any of that meant. So that's a really good point.
And again, I want to point out, I know in time I got it, and I appreciate the conversation. I do want to point out, even on the advocacy side, where I know the effort in the department, like Riley, Newport, and other places, and trying to find that network, that way of chain of command, even in just as we're talking today and beginning concepts in ways, it would be nice to see some specs, demos, or opportunities within it, so we can at least have some basic place to put our opinions in as a council within this conversation space. All right, any other program update? I'm about 3 or 4 minutes over. Well, actually, I'm 30 seconds over, which I appreciate the 3. Thank you.
No, if we need to move on, that's fine.
Emergencies went okay? If I'm gonna press you as an advocate?
It's our most recent,
program
our
update?
most recent one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, emergencies go as they go, so there's always bumps, but I think that we had a much more organized response this time. And we were able to get information out of our system that we haven't been able to really fully execute before. So that was good. And be able to reach out in a more targeted way versus the blast that we go out and we're reaching out to everyone and people are like, I don't know why you're calling me. I don't need anything. I have those supports I need, that kind of thing. So,
Thank you very much for the update, Kim. I just wanted to also relate it to the conversations we've had over the last couple of months in ways that as we move on to this next topic point. So right now we on the ARPA DD info fair portion of the.
Yeah, so
Schedule.
I can do an update on the ARPA grants that are coming out right now. That was a good segue into the emergency response funding. We are applying for that. And that grant is going to be really great, actually. So there's opportunity for us to get some emergency supply kits to people as far as like backpacks with supplies, every individual in service. And then there's also an opportunity for us to provide portable generators, so not whole house generators, but portable generators and power stations to people who have equipment that is considered life sustaining. So not everyone in services, but people that have those specific needs. So right now, we are in the process of applying for the funds and then thinking about how we can figure out exactly who needs what and get it to them in an equitable and in a way and in a time frame that we have. So we are just kind of in that aspect, we're just trying to figure out all the logistics right now. So it's actually pretty exciting. I think it's going to help a lot of people. And so as we get further into that, I'm sure we will need more of your input on, you know, when these backpacks come out, like should we put some information in there that tells people how to use the things. We're also talking about how, you know, when we do these portable generators, we're not going to be doing any installation. It's not going to go for things that people have already purchased. We can't supply fuel. We can't do maintenance upkeep. So all of these like logistical things is what we're kind of talking about right now. And that's kind of where we're at. But very, very, very exciting, especially when we think about the ice storm that we just had and how many people that can help. So that's pretty cool.
Any definition on life sustaining for the generators?
There is, and we have to look more into it, but it's literally like there's been a couple conversations about like if somebody is not able to maintain their body temperature, if they would need some sort of like, if they would need one because they need the heat from something electric. So it's not super well defined, but that's something that we're working on. And I think it's in the grant proposal. I just don't have that up right now. But they're pretty specific about that. And at the same time, they do have, depending on how many we have and what funding looks like, I think there's lots of room. So
I think communication is very important, knowing that there's level checks and ways of the ways that I definitely know it's not 1, 2, and 3
right.
in my hearing, and I definitely know it may be one situation or another or certain things, but that type of language. Did anyone have any questions on those two things on the online side before I put my other point in and we go to the next part, or the same conversation within here? Nope. All right, awesome. So yeah, the level considerations of generators are important, and knowing that partnership within it, and also budget reconsiderations and all that. On the emergency pack kit, how many do we know yet in ways that everybody gets one? But my question to you as a department and an advocate who's kind of been in this space of conversation, not directly in, but how can we help you with further knowledge? Like what you were explaining about, you know, what can we grow from this type of thing? When would you guys like that type of information in ways that we know we can't have the nicest little phone charger in the world with a solar thing because it's only $100 and that's all we have.
I think we're still, I think everything's still on the table. So we're very much at like a planning phase and trying to figure out what that looks like, if we're going to be able to tailor anything, if we're going to have to do a one size fits all because we don't have the capacity to, I mean, we have like over 2,000 folks, right?
Absolutely.
Kim, is that right? About 2,000 people. So trying to individualize that might be more than we can.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking, when would you like that input in ways that I know that some of the packs are already pre-made.
Yes.
And I don't know where the county is in a way of, is it been pre-made, and then we can put our own opinion. How can we help you best? Is what my question is.
If you have ideas, send it in.
Because the other ideas being said, but sippy straws and it may not be relevant to me, but it is relevant to other people. But I still would like to know what we can do best to, support that, that communication within at least this opportunity. Kim, please.
So I just want to be clear that if we have a set amount of money that would be set, allotted to Clackamas County, and based on the needs and the things that we do decide to purchase, it isn't going to be everyone gets something necessarily. It will be whatever we end up purchasing, and then some people may need it, some people may not. Some people are like, backpack of what? I don't need that. I have this resource. So we also are definitely looking at where we can best put our resources with the limited amount of money that we do have. So it's not a small amount of money, but it may not be that we can provide everything that every single person would need in an emergency. So I don't want to oversell what we might be able to do with this. It's exciting, and it is giving us an opportunity to give resources that we've never been able to do before. And I also don't want to be promising that every single person in developmental disabilities is going to get a backpack, because that may not be what they need or that they want. So we're trying to do a good job, or as good as we possibly can, of making sure that we have different types of resources for people.
I appreciate the update. I'll get right to it. But I may have been ahead on other conversation spaces than, again, the county, in ways I'm learning the process of the county. So I apologize if pre-made and other language was made in ways of what maybe one receives and one services for another. Sasha, please.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, I think along with John, who's making the decision, and at what point is the decision going to be made about what is being purchased with these ARPA funds?
Is there a strategic meeting within the county like there was within the brokerage system or other conversation spaces?
So we don't even have the money yet. And so then once we are issued the final funds, I think that's a good question. And we are in those conversations about how we're going to be moving forward with that. I really wish Brooke was here.
How are self-advocates and family members going to be part of those conversations?
That is something we're working on.
I think.
When can we get back to you without feeling like we're pressuring?
We can probably, Amy and I can follow up this week to kind of talk a little bit more, but as of right now, I don't have the specifics of how that is going to happen.
And
We're super early in the application's not due yet. We just know that we're applying for it.
And again, though I was not part of it as conflict of interest, I've heard this type of speech or this type of language a couple months ago. So I apologize if I'm crossing it, Kim, in ways that you're just starting out, and I hope you guys can have some whatnot in ways of me trying to understand the process versus what the reality is, and be in those kinds of conversations.
I will volunteer if the council's interested. Kim, and you let me know if one of our she is coordinating our ARPA stuff right now, Georgetta. I think she was at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But we can invite her to, I don't know that she's available, but we can certainly invite her to the February meeting.
Put it on the
Because
list and maybe the co-chair.
She's going to be doing a lot of the,
Get to that.
work on this grant, because her position is specifically for the ARPA grant. She's one of our main folks working on the provider engagement project. So she's really heavily involved in the grant stuff right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we might be able to offer, is we can have her come in if people want to put that on the agenda for next time. And I think by this time next month, we'll have a little bit better idea of who's going where and who's doing what and what's on the table. Right now, we just know that we need to take advantage and make sure that we get the supplies out to people that need them, and we don't know exactly what that looks like.
Different
yet.
spaces, different services, understand. Thank you, at least on my end. Does that sound okay with you guys on the council, on the side of Zoom? Just want to make sure that we're not going over heads and doing all that. I appreciate it.
I'll quickly say the provider engagement project, that's in full swing. We're about midway through. We've collected a lot of data and now we're kind of sorting through the data.
Okay.
And putting our steering committee, we're about to put that together.
Good.
So that's kind of right in the middle of that. The self-advocacy grant, I did send out an email. We are not going to pursue that right now. We don't have the capacity to manage that. And we would like to support a self-advocacy group. I think our thoughts are that in the future, we can do that and maybe don't need funding necessarily to do that. We just need staffing capacity, which is what we're short on right now.
Yeah.
So, the last thing that I will say, does anybody have any questions about any of the ARPA stuff? I just went through that really quickly.
Self-advocacy grant, we can talk in other spaces and ways of that, not concerned, but those type of ideas that Louis and others need to have some conversations within the department and city services or county services. But that's my only note on that.
The last topic that I had was our Clackamas County is gonna do our first developmental disabilities information fair.
Yay.
And we're looking at late spring, early summer. There is a planning committee that is getting together next week. I wasn't at the first meeting, but I will be at the future meetings. Excuse me, it's this week, it's Wednesday, actually. If any of you are interested in getting on that committee, I can send out an email or an invite to that meeting. It's this is only the second meeting. I think we have a location. It's our first one. It's going to be messy. So if you're expecting a beautiful, perfect fair, this isn't gonna be that, but it's gonna be pretty good. But we are pretty excited about it because Clackamas County hasn't done that yet. And so we're pretty excited about that. So if you guys want, I can just let me know that you are interested and I can put you on the invite list for that.
Yeah, I would love that.
I think I would too, all the convention preps and other things, knowing that this is the first time ever in many areas.
And just know it's
Scary, but I understand the language that you're saying.
But I think it'll be good. We want it to be fun and we want it to be helpful and informational and all those awesome things. So
Yeah, I would, but I don't know how my Wednesday looks this time, but I would love to oversee a meeting / maybe be a part.
Yeah, and I can-
like certain other committees around it.
and I can continue to give updates, or others who join in on those meetings can give updates at future council meetings.
So you out there, please contact on the chat log or whatnot, and who's on the council or would like to be a part of it. Contact Amy on that and we can continue on that. A little bit over time, but I do appreciate the info, but I also want to point out on the ARPA fund, I do appreciate the generator information Sasha put in with PGE from the last meeting in ways of other community opportunities. And then I guess to round it out, though there was no conflict of interest or what I'm trying to say, but any other outside community opportunities and information that do support those with DD like in ways of your department work would be great too, without, it could be community partners, but it would be nice to know that like the PGE thing, information that Sasha put out, or other opportunities within those type of fairs, or maybe you guys can gain even more financing and sponsorship or other creative ways. But good luck on it, and I appreciate that information. All right, so at 5:20. Should we take a little breather there? All right. So we are now on the recalibration portion of the schedule. What information do we need from that part?
I think I have your name on here. I think on my side, I just want to verify meeting times,
Okay.
meeting months, and that this time is still okay for people. It seems like it's been working.
We're all here.
Yeah.
It's been working on my end.
And then,
I will say on the warning of future conversations. Is we may need to have an emergency meeting in December, give or take another emergency, flash, but I know you guys have to do the work of the people. I just want to make sure, and then maybe we collaborate, January's meeting in ways of pushing it February, we need to make a vote later on, but right now wasn't an issue. And policy season, as I've learned in this county work, it's been a little bit harder to not push, but to understand, so, that was the main reason why January was a key component within the council when I proposed the dates. So, we'll see. But yeah, dates are okay in a 2 months, any legal laws, we need any more or any less, right now, I think we're doing fine with 2 month break and then 2 month break. When's the next 2 month break?
I was just looking at that actually, cause I think my plan is to, since we're doing this hybrid, I wanna get the room situated for the rest of the year so
Yeah.
that we don't have to think about it. So I would like to get the invites out sooner than later.
How's the audio quality out there, you guys, in ways of improvement and non-improvement? Alright, I still love my single mic system of a 1.5 system, but I understand. Thank you guys. And not about me, but also you can hear the guests here too. Alright. Any questions on recalibration of the schedule for the year, more meetings, less meetings? As much as I love my meetings.
So it looks like February 26th is the next one, but what's after that?
I was just looking, I know we meet in March.
I thought we were meeting every other month.
It was every month and then we had 2 months off and 2 months off in the thing. Yeah, January, February, March, and I think we took something like 2 months, I think we agreed
We
on,
took off June.
June, July.
Should we take off March?
I think it was July and August we took off this year. Then
That's what
November,
it was.
December.
We've already made a vote on it, I don't. If you wanna make it every 2 months with 1 month overlapping, over 1 month, I'm fine with that, but.
Well, I will, in the
It has to
meantime,
be 8 times, right? That was the trouble of doing it every other month.
what I will do is I will send out what the dates would be.
Yeah,
And then we can come back to this in February and make sure that those, I'll go ahead and schedule it as we've voted on it.
Yeah.
And then, if we wanna have another conversation about it next month, we can.
I'm okay with the vote that we had last month on my side. Do we need to do a online proxy vote? If you would like that information before February?
No, it's fine, I'll schedule it like we voted it in, and then, some people won't be able to make every single one, I think. Cause nobody can tell the future, but I think, we should be all right.
And I'm definitely willing to have bylaw conversations on the administration side in ways of knowing what responsibilities are as a public servant versus not, but if we're not at that point yet, I don't wanna put too much on your guys' table. Term limits, stuff like that. Alright, I don't see you hear any other conversations around that recalibration talk and ways we'll meet back on February and re-vote. We still need 8 times, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so that's the reason 6 months still. What's the trouble? Alright, and we can go maybe twice in 1 month, which I'm not advocating or proposing. I just wanna make sure if we wanna get this done, we can just, see each other for a couple times and then we're done for the whole year, right? No, I'm not that type of way as a chair. I'll point that out right now. It would also be nice to know what will make the department's life a little easier. I may not like only having 2 subjects at a time and like to murder 10 subjects in one meeting, but we can readjust and compromise, I think.
I think that if we're going to address topics in a meaningful, full way, having 10 is just too much.
I apologize, Kim, that was just that was a remark that as much as I am who I am, I understand we have to make compromises sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me re-clarify that on public record. As much as we can. Alright. You said. Oh, we got Sarah here. Perfect timing. We got perfect timing on it.
She was there and then she was gone and now she's back.
Hopefully the audio will connect.
There we
Sarah,
go. Yeah.
are you part of the
Sarah.
council or are you another Sarah? I'd like to make public comment.
It's just me, Sarah Lambert. Sorry, I'm having technical issues today.
Absolutely, you came at the right time, I think, for this. I appreciate your time if you're on the council. Sorry, my memory's still on the schedule. Anything on?
I am.
Absolutely. Thanks for the reminder. I hear your voice quality and all. Anything on the DD advisory council, even though as much as I would love specialized positions within, the council that could help. Taxes and lawyers and other specialties. Is there anything that we need to talk to that's pertinent for today? Outside of we need more members and whoever we have in our.
I don't think so. I know that you had North Clackamas Parks and Recs.
That's the next one. That's why you're here, Sarah, right? No. Lambert. I believe you and I had a conversation last time when we had in person about North Clackamas Parks and Recs. So I put that into the meeting minutes. I have my own questions and would like my own guests to come, but I would love to hear yours as a community member. And then I'll point out to a listening session that I heard a couple of days ago from ODDS and specialized services within the Parks Recs. Would you have any reminders on what point you wanted to make about adults and Parks and Recs suggestions?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I am. I want to
Oh
make
gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I want to make.
I know. I just would love to hear from somebody so that we can figure out how to get some programs going for adults with disabilities. I'd love to be able to bridge that gap and figure that one out. So I'm open to helping with that solution. I unfortunately don't have a lot of ideas. I think that we've attempted to reach out. So I think we just need to get them here at a meeting so we can kind of brainstorm it.
Absolutely, and I would second that on my side. Anything on other council members' side on Parks and Recs, children, Sarah or others in the children involved with Parks and Recs in ways that I know the department just started to have conversations. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I was out at, I think it's called a Hidden. It's not Hidden Springs, something, it's in the Hillsborough, Parks and Rec. And they have some amazing programming, for children with disabilities. They have like a sensory movie night, they had a bingo night, they had like so many different cool things. And I was like, oh my God, my kids would love to go to all of these. And I didn't know if there's anything like that on this side of the universe. But I would be happy to share that with.
I would love to know who we should invite within the Parks and Rec. For me, it's Johnny Glenn and whoever their boss is. Johnny's involved with the sports and other job responsibilities. And yeah, there's some stuff that I have some questions within the Parks and Rec in ways of people who are equals. And I understand we have most extreme cases here too, but people who might be equal to other sports and how we can protect those with disabilities within the offerings that they have for community services within county and county opportunities. When I hear a 16-year-old dance event with 80-year-old, it kind of scares me when they put them under youth services. Yeah, I don't know. I never really seen 25-year-olds or 15-year-olds in ways of those type of events, but these might be something that I need to grow as an advocate. But when they put them under youth, it feels like they empathize sometimes the opportunities, or I must be misreading them in those types of opportunities. And I need it on me, or I need them to realize that even though I know we've been built by parents in some ways, I hope that we can transition to a communication within the offerings into adulthood and transition side of ideals within, the culture around just IQ levels being at third grade, always third grade. And so that's one reason why I would like to talk to them on Parks and Recs. Did we get enough evidence that we might need a guest for North Clackamas Park for a meeting? Department wise?
Is the North Clackamas PRD part of Clackamas County? No.
They still offer services within Clackamas County. So that's on your Hillsborough, Walton, Park and Rec kind of thing. As much as I love my mermaids and other services that might be, I would love to see those type of opportunities for those with disabilities, even though it's not my type of, thing.
Yeah.
I do see Walton Park and Hill Direct and the mermaid program and stuff like that. In ways that, may or may not be able to include into the own conversation that we can have as a council.
So is the council asking us to find someone to connect with Clackamas Parks and Rec to bring them, or is there a person that the council wants to bring to
I
the
mentioned
meeting?
my person, Kim. I think you and I have had a
Mhm.
mutual understanding of the
Mhm.
boss and Johnny, but I would love to hear other people's suggestions on Clackamas Parks and Rec and the offerings. And this can also be instructive too, I would think, in ways that they're beginning their careers and trying to figure out options within, the offerings of the Parks and Rec field. But I would love to have the manager in particular with someone like Johnny in particular, and knowing that people like, who's the colleague, that, the head of this department, starts with the S, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
My coworker, Stacy?
Stacy, yeah, Stacy mentioned that, there's 20 years that we never had a conversation within that type of consideration. I'm sorry, Stacy, I forgot your name at the moment, but
Yeah,
it's just
she's
that,
not here
I'm
today.
not putting it on her, but having that conversation within departments and these offerings with community exploration and what Sarah Lambert had pointed out. And what may be offered in other spaces might be a place of starting conversation since emergency preparedness is now done.
Yeah,
Pretty much
so the
done.
so the county, I mean, the DD program doesn't have any objection to having someone from Parks and Rec. What I was trying to make sure I understood was, so we don't have another meeting and have to revisit, like we sometimes do, is
We do need to
who-
find a guest.
who's going to be responsible for finding the guest? And if it's us, that's great. And we just need to make sure that is included in the minutes. That's an action step that the county is going to take to try to connect with Clackamas Parks and Rec to
Thank you.
have someone, or if there is already someone in mind and the council wanted to specifically do that, if one of the council members. So if it is us,
I had my two names that I mentioned to you
Yep.
already on the record, Sarah Lambert or Sarah Strawbeck or Colleen. Do you guys have any ideas or maybe to include in this type of conversation that would help your people that you represent?
I personally don't have anybody that I have connections with, but I do think it would be awesome not to put that on Clackamas County, because I know you guys already have a lot to do, but I think if you reached out to them with the heading of Clackamas County, they might maybe take it as a little more serious and come to the council versus maybe just myself, just Sarah Lambert calling. So if you guys have the capacity and the ability to do that, I think that would be awesome. But I know you guys have a lot on your plate already, so.
No, I mean, I don't have a problem at all with us doing that. That's totally fine. I just didn't want to, one, duplicate efforts or diminish someone's desire to make the contact. That's all I was saying. Is county doesn't always have to take the lead. I just didn't want to make sure that I wasn't cutting someone out from underneath by saying, well, oh yeah, sure, we'll do that and take the role. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't overstepping that.
Absolutely. Sarah Strawbeck.
So I don't, I'd be happy to reach out to people too. I'd love to do that. I did notice, I don't know if you guys were aware of the Mardi Gras dance coming up for West Lynn Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
And it says it's actually with specific consideration to teens and young adults with developmental disabilities.
Yeah, it's nice to see that categorization when I saw that, even though it's not in my purview. But yeah, I did see that part of it. But let's continue that conversation. Sarah, if you have anyone that you research before February, say the first week of February, before the co-chair and I have our meetings in ways of the schedule building and who to invite and not invite and what the county has. And so we can mix in, you know, your voice into that, that'll be great.
I don't know if you want to, I don't know if you want to keep it, or make it specific just to West Lynn Parks and Rec, but I'm more dialed in with that just because I live in West Lynn.
No, I got
So
you.
I could certainly, I'd be happy to invite, Nicole Buden, who
Yes.
actually, she used to run a, she used to, own and operate a, oh, what would you call it? A, horseback riding training
Mhm.
center in
It
West
will
Lynn. It
be
was called
very,
Happy
very
Trails.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, and now she is, I guess she's closed that, but she is one of the directors of activities at the Adult Community Center, which is more of a senior center
Yeah.
in West Lynn. So I was interested to see that it sounds like they're reaching out or expanding their client base to involve younger people as well, which I thought was good.
Another conversation, again, I really appreciate, and I think we should go that direction in ways. Sorry, raising my hand as an advocate, I apologize. Where senior services are different than disability services, we can, it's very important to have those options, but I will point as an advocate, disability law is different than ABD law. And aging of people with disabilities. So we can make good first steps, I think, in this. I also wanted to remind, I remember Lisa mentioning someone from the aquatic center. Is there anything that we would like to still invite on that, or have you guys already closed that out and like the opportunities within the Parks and Rec district and the?
I don't have a specific person,
Because there was a concern at the ODDF meeting or whatnot, I think it was your meeting, Lisa, when you were there, about, oh, wasn't yours, Sasha, you may have not been there because, you know, of time or whatnot, but there was a concern of someone about adaptive swim. And how they're not that many.
It's like 1 hour a week or something.
Yeah.
Exactly, within county services, and I was thinking of you in
Yeah, it was
particular.
me. Yeah.
In ways of that lovely presentation of whoever mentioned it.
It would be nice to have someone from aquatics, but I feel like there's probably somebody high up in the whole North Clackamas Aquatic Center
Whole thing.
division,
Yeah.
you know, or whoever
Parks and Rec and
decides,
swimming.
whoever
Yeah.
decides, you know, what is gonna be at what place,
Yeah.
that we could probably.
And it was also a communications, if I read the moment right, of the expertise of those who are teaching. It's sometimes hard to communicate when it is into an IDD field within what county service can help provide versus what the Parks and Rec district can provide within, you know, those types of things. It was a good, I didn't like the second part of how they set it up in ways of their own businesses and everything about water sports, but I did think, you know, it did remind me of your part of North Latin Park a couple of months ago, a year ago.
Yeah, I did forget
when we
about
did
that. Interesting though, Sarah, if you, because we live in Westland too, so
Yeah.
you're just sort of speaking to my hometown. You know, we're gonna have a community center with a pool built in Westland soon. So it might be interesting to have whoever's leading that project come to recognize the importance of what you could offer for those with disabilities.
What's the timeline on that? I
I
haven't,
don't know either. I'm sure it's not urgent, but
right,
just
right.
food for thought, you know?
But to get in, in like, to get in at the ground level when they're starting, right?
Yeah.
And throw this
Yeah.
out there as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
As an advocate, here is another conversation that we may not be in the space of, you know, North Clackamas all the way, but when you give opportunities like the Westland Park Rec, in particular in Westland, I am wondering, with social inclusion and the closing of shelter workshops and other ideals, is the toll bridges. And how much of an influence that will have providers and not providers cross the bridges and the testing ideal. I know of a person who may be able to have that conversation in another space, unfortunately, with advocates, but I don't know if there's anyone that we should talk with ODOT in ways of social inclusion, and when we build these opportunity and conversation spaces, that may affect, people need to cross over. Social security offices in Westland now, that's a whole other issue. I'm trying to make this progress, and social inclusion based, not that policy point, but I do, that too is a concern in ways that some people are minimum wage and do have asset limit concerns. And I just wanted to make sure that we wrap around that social inclusion part, as those workshop things and those asset limit concerns are a little bit different without trying to get too much on other policy points, but still within social inclusion and rec opportunities.
If we ever wanna talk the tolls, Jules Walters, Representative Jules Walters in Westland is leading at the Capitol, so.
Yeah, we can also include the Westland mayor, very beautiful hair, and we can include the Oregon City mayor, which has told me 5 times we've already down the policy point, John. In ways of that type of conversation, but that could be a later conversation within the council after we have a initial talk with the county and other programs. But those are, like your North Latin pool thing, 9 months kind of thing. That might be other places that we can push for social inclusion in those adults, and yes, mine is in inclusion. Sarah Lambert, I do want to put on record say thank you very much for bringing it up last time. As we move on, it's near public comment time, but did I forget one edge outside of that conversation?
No, I just wanted to clarify that the county will look for somebody, preferably the manager at North Clackamas Parks and Rec, to come to one of our meetings, so we will follow up on that.
That'll be great.
And then I did find the meetings, just to go back to that quickly. We are not meeting, we voted this last April. We will not meet in July, August, November, and December. So we will meet January, February, March, April, May, June, September, October.
At least give a three-month update. If it's January, February, March, April, February, March, April, and then we'll.
All the way till June at this point.
Yeah, we can always go back to the topic if the committee, whatever committee, myself and Lisa would like to. So if we would like to try to have that conversation, or you guys can make your comment within Amy, we'd love to hear that by February, at least for me for February, if you want to redo that, or are you okay with the schedule that we agreed on? All right, Amy, did anyone from the public contact you for public comment? We have, Sarah Lambert, please. I apologize.
No problem. I'm not quite sure if this is appropriate time, but I did have a couple things that I wanted to mention really quickly on the provider side of things, if I could. There's a really important survey coming out. It's called the Rate and Wage Study. And if there's any providers that are listening to the council meeting, it would be really important for them. Can you hear me?
It's hard to hear you.
Hard to hear you.
Oh, golly, I'm so sorry. And maybe I can even reach out to Amy or put it in the chat. There's a really important survey that's coming out this month that's going to impact DD foster providers. And I just wanted the public to be aware of it. And I wanted to see if there was even a way that we could maybe get the word out to providers. It's really important that they participate in it. And I don't think we have a lot of people aware of it. And so that's just something I kind of wanted to throw out so that the council is aware and that we have a way of reaching out to DD providers too, so that they can be aware of the study. It will be out January 29th. So if anyone is listening, into our council meeting, I want them to hear that, but then also any ideas on how maybe we could reach out to other providers to let them know to look for that.
Is there anything that the council needs to, or the administration team needs to understand to maybe make it a docket issue later on? Or at least put it in the traffic parking lot on your end? Since you're only one voice of hundreds or many people around this county.
So I've been a part of this, it has, okay, Kim, sorry, I just was seeing that. That's perfect. I know that there's a lot of ODDS, transmittals that come out, and sometimes a lot of people don't understand that that's DD specific, because APD also sends out a ton. And so I've been part of some of these listening sessions to help develop a survey that is DD provider friendly. And one of the biggest things is that people either it's too complicated, so we've been trying to simplify that, or they don't understand that it applies to them. So any ideas, even from the county, of how we can maybe bring this awareness personally from Clackamas County and not just ODDS? Or is that something that might be too complicated? Or maybe
No.
even on like a provider newsletter or something?
Yeah, we can send it out in our foster care provider newsletter that Christy does.
That would be awesome, just so that people know to participate. You know, because we get so many emails, as you guys probably know, because you get them too. And sometimes DD providers don't pay attention to some of the things that pertain to them, or they just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there an IT process within these updates that maybe Clackamas County could have a wider discussion in knowing where and how to categorize information versus, you know, emergency notices?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, John.
What I'm trying to say is, I know at the listening session, you know, ODDS was aware of so many different transmittals and conversations and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to pin, you know, this concern all the way, but is there a way to ID the need, you know, what is a quiz or a comment, you know, type of email versus a transmittal versus a, you know, this is a thing from ODDS, you know, is there a way that we can ID or flag these type of emails so we can categorize them within our technology and whatnot that might make it easier within our lives rather than just disregard it and forget about it and go, oops.
I don't know.
I'm
mean,
just suggesting to the council, Kim, I'm not asking for direct right now, but if that's a conversation we would like to have later on. You know, that's something that may not be important now, but it sounds like it's an issue within the department and other areas. So I'm hoping that we can figure out what is important and what is not within technology a little bit easier within the county when they do have a message. Important message. Thank you. I'll write down my hand. Anything else on public or good of the order? 10 minutes early. What am I gonna do? All right. The motion is adjourned. It sounds like we got a second. We all aye. Aye.
awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.